I spent the night with someone at a party and didn't know my husband saw the footage.
I've promised myself never to attend a bachelor's party again, and trust me, guys, I have my valid reasons. The last bachelor's party I attended ended up in me sleeping with an athlete and cheating on my husband. I messed up big time, and I can only hope that things don't end up getting worse than it already is. I've always been told that bachelor parties are wild and unpredictable, but I never imagined being at the receiving end of the wild activities. I never even imagined participating in any of the wild activities at all. That's why it breaks my heart to realize that I let my guard down, and now I've done something despicable. I'm very scared, guys. I'm so scared that I do not know what to do. I'm scared that my husband would find out, and then I'll be done for. I just know that he will never let this go or forgive me. There's no chance that the man I married will just overlook everything that happened that night. I'm scared, and I have many reasons to be scared. My name is Elena, and I'm a 31-year-old dancer and choreographer. I've been a choreographer for almost 10 years of my life. It's something that I fell in love with at a very young age. I'm married to a journalist, and I'll not be revealing his real name because I want to keep his identity private. I will just refer to my husband as Dane. He's 32 years old and he has an obsession for journalism. A dancer and a journalist. I know some of you might wonder how such an odd match ever came to be. To be honest, sometimes I also wonder how we managed to get married despite our weird professional comparisons. Dane and I have been married for 3 years now. We do not have children yet because we're always traveling for one thing or another. We decided not to have kids until we're perfectly sure that we would have enough time to raise them properly. I travel a lot because of my job as a dancer and choreographer, and that's how I ended up traveling to Chicago for a wedding. It's a client's wedding, and I literally didn't know anyone there except the client who had been an old friend of mine. It's that particular wedding that led me to be in this narrow-minded state I'm currently in. Now, I wish I rejected the job and never truly went to that wedding, but I guess that wish could only come true if wishes were horses, and unfortunately they are not. When I first got the gig, I spoke to my husband about it because I always took his permission before traveling for my job. He also takes permission from me before traveling for work-related activities. Forgive me for using the term gig. I think I'm old school and have the tendency to call things in a weird manner. Don't judge me, lol. When I spoke to Dane about it, he didn't have a problem. It was normal for me to travel for work, and he never complained. I think the reason he's always chilled about it is because he also travels for work on several occasions. Maybe he feels guilty and just decides that it's best if we have a mutual understanding. To be honest, neither Dane or I are home regularly, guys. Our schedules collide a lot, and that makes it hard for us to stay home together. You see the reason we decided to pause on having kids, right? If we had kids now, we'd be the world's worst parents ever. Except we hire a nanny, of course. Where was I? Oh, yeah. Dane gave me permission to go to Chicago for my work. He also told me that he'd be traveling for work, too. So, we both left the house yet again. When I landed in Chicago, it was a lot of work that awaited me. As a choreographer, I think one of my hardest challenges is managing choreography for weddings. It's the worst type of workload to ever have, but I have no choice but to indulge in it because I need to earn that money. My job was to teach the couple and their bridesmaids, groomsmen, some extra choreography that they could use for a perfect wedding entrance. They wanted something like those trendy couple entrances online. It's very hard to teach dance to couples who know nothing about dance or rhythm. It was very difficult for me, and by the time I flew there, I had just 2 weeks to make sure everyone was good in their respective distinctions. I almost gave up at the end of the day because none of them were cooperating as much as I wanted them to. I'm not joking when I say that I almost had a mental breakdown. Yeah, things like that are not foreign to my job, and anytime it happens, I like to call my husband and have a long talk with him. I did that almost throughout that particular trip, but I had to stop the moment Dane told me he had been occupied and had to work. I don't know what suddenly came into me or why I agreed to attend that particular bachelor's party. I'd never attended most of the bachelor's parties I'd been invited to while at work. The rare cases where I attended those parties were either because the couples were relatives or close friends of mine. That particular couple were just friends of mine that I met in college. When they invited me to their bachelor's party, I said no instantly. I didn't even ask for room to think about it. I just knew immediately that it was not something I wanted to do. One of my reasons for initially declining my request is because I had been exhausted from all the dancing and teaching I did. But the couple didn't take my no for an answer at all. They kept pestering me and asking me to come. Now I wish that I had held my ground and stuck to the no I said to them when they first asked. I'm sure that if I had just held on a little bit, things would have turned out differently. When I went to the bachelor's party, I realized that it was not the normal kind of bachelors. The couple did not have their bachelor's party separately. Instead, they did it together. It was really wild, and easily I stepped into the club. I knew that I should have really stayed home and not honored the invitation. There were drinks all over the place and people dancing like there was no tomorrow. I think any of you reading this who has been to a bachelor's party before would understand what I am talking about. It's crazy how couples just decide to celebrate in such a wild manner. This particular couple left no stone unturned, and they made sure that they went as wild as they possibly could. I felt so out of place that I did not think twice before asking to leave. The only problem was that I had arrived in the couple's car, and they were the ones who brought me to the club. I was not really familiar with Chicago that much, because I had not been there many times before. I wanted to go and ask the couples if they could call a taxi for me and tell the taxi exactly where to drop me off. But after thinking about it, I refused to do that because I thought it would be inconsiderate for me to go to stop the couple when they were having fun. I also didn't want to be a burden because I did not want to find myself in an uncomfortable situation. It did not help that I was really scared of the taxi driver taking me to an unknown location, and I would not even realize because I was not that familiar with Chicago. I'm one of those women that are big overthinkers and read into every single detail. I can become paranoid over the most trivial things, and I would give you the same reasons why I am right. I decided to just stay at the party and try my best to hold on till the couple were ready to be. I knew that it was not going to be early because the couple did not look like they planned on leaving the party that early. I just walked around and tasted the food that they had on display. I never want to miss a chance to eat good food. While I was walking around and eating anything in sight, a guy waved at me and gestured for me to come sit with him. I know that many of you will just call that the most cheesy thing you've ever heard, and to be honest, I was quite surprised that any guy had the courage to wave at me. I was so stupid that I thought I had a cardboard on my head that said married, and so I never really expected any guy to call out to me. But I was wrong, and the fact that I was married was not visible to everyone. I don't have a wedding ring if that's what you're thinking. It didn't even last 6 months before I lost it somewhere. My husband also misplaced his too, and I'm sure we are not the only couple who could not keep their wedding rings. Our job is very demanding and rough, and we understood that there was no way we could keep something as small as a ring. The first few weeks after my wedding, I had to struggle to keep it on while dancing. Sometimes it would slip off my fingers, and other times it would get stuck on my fingers. When I used to misplace it, I will try my best and look for it. But as time went on, I stopped trying, and I finally lost it because I knew that I would still be placed at the end of the day. My husband lost it while he was waiting in line with some of his colleagues to get an important interview. The struggle journalists go through just to be the one to take the interview and shove their mic into the face of the person they want to interview is wild. My husband always tells me about it, and it's a thing I'm always fascinated about. I'm sorry to deviate. I just wanted to make you guys understand that I did not intentionally lose my wedding ring, and I did not drop it off at the hotel intentionally. When the guy called me and gestured for me to come sit with him, I tried to pretend like I did not see him calling out to me. I just assumed that he was drunk, and he would eventually go away when he was tired. But at the end of the day, I was actually wrong, and he did not go away. He walked up to me and was smiling from ear to ear. I'm not even joking, guys. I'm telling the truth. I honestly believed that he was drunk, but I later discovered that he was not drunk at all. Instead of leaving like I thought he would, he introduced himself. I'm not going to say his real name because I don't want to reveal his identity too. I'll just refer to him as Brandon. He asked me for my name and I told him my name. I'm not going to lie. I actually found Brandon attractive when he walked up to me. I could obviously see back then that he had extremely white teeth that looked like those ones they bought with a lot of money. He had a diamond earring on one of his ears. It looked like a diamond earring. I'm not sure if it's fake or not. I think he's like one of those guys that look like they put a lot of money into their outfit and all. I did not understand why he was suddenly interested in talking to me, but I did not push him away. Before Brandon came to talk to me, I already had 1 or 2 drinks, so I was quite tipsy and jovial. I don't even know what the bartender mixed for me, and I drank. It looked good, and I just had a taste of it, but I could tell immediately after taking it that it was something strong. Brandon just started off by talking to me, and we spoke about random things. He asked me if I was related to the couple, and I said I was their choreographer. I also asked him what relationship he had with the couple, and he told me that he was a distant cousin of the groom. We went from having conversation to casually laughing, and I honestly don't even remember what we were laughing about. The party had gotten wilder, and people were dancing and puking and drinking and doing several things in the club. I'd never imagined that a bachelor party could go so crazy, and I even saw the couple doing several crazy things with other people. I was caught off guard when Brandon pulled me onto the dance floor. I'm not trying to play the victim card by saying that he just pulled me onto the dance floor. I was very aware of it, but I did not try to fight him. I let him drag me to the dance floor, and I felt really lightheaded. I know that I was not drunk and that I was somewhere between being conscious and being tipsy. The music and environment played a role, and I just went with the flow. I don't know if it was Brandon's expensive look and confidence, but I just know that I had been drawn to him at that moment. We danced, and we even had drinks together, and that was it, before things got wild. It first started from a kiss, and I don't know how it got crazy. I'm being honest when I say that I did not plan for it to get that far. But I would also be lying if I say that I did not indulge him in any way. For everything he did, I know that I gave him the courage to continue doing it. I felt, and I still feel like I am a very loose woman, because I encouraged Brandon in so many ways. I woke up the next morning in an unknown location, and Brandon was right next to me. That's when it all made sense to me. I spent the night with Brandon, a total stranger that I didn't even know from anywhere. I practically ran out of the hotel room because I was very ashamed of myself. I could not believe that I had cheated on my husband with a total stranger. The fact that I did not know Brandon before made it more disrespectful and crazy. Before leaving the hotel, Brandon gave me his business card, which contained all his information. He told me that he liked the night we spent together and would like to see me again. I only agreed to take the business card after he showed me the protection he had used because I was very scared that he did not use protection. It was on that business card that I discovered that Brandon was an athlete, and I even had to look him up online. He was a young athlete in his mid-20s, and I could not believe that I had slept with somebody that was 6 years younger than me. It felt surreal, and I honestly believed that something had gotten into me. But I knew that wasn't the truth. Prior to the bachelor's party, I'd been counting down the days till I left Chicago. But immediately after that party, I've been praying that time would stop till I was able to gather enough courage to see my husband. Well, time stops for no one, and I did not suddenly become an exception. I don't know how to say this, but I met with the consequences of my actions. I've started feeling the weight of what I did even without revealing the truth to my husband. The guilt slaps harder than anything I've ever experienced, and it's honestly crazy. I thought it was the couples who usually ended bachelor parties in crazy decisions, but I ended up being the one with the crazy decision. An athlete? Seriously? I cheated on my husband with a young athlete? I'm honestly very disgusted in myself. I wasn't even present on the wedding day, and I didn't take much videos like I usually did. I just hid into my shell and tried my best to pretend like everything was okay, when though I was firmly sure that nothing was okay. The wedding ended 1 week ago, but I'm still in Chicago. I don't have the courage to leave Chicago right now. My husband has been blowing up my phone consistently for the past few days, but I have intentionally ignored all his calls. I can't do it. How will I tell him? I have no choice than to go back tomorrow. Please help me, guys. I don't know what to do. I will be very honest. The truth is that I don't want him to find out. I still love him and I regret my decision. But I can't imagine losing him for anything in this world. I messed up big time, but I'm not ready to give up on him. I feel like a selfish fool and I know I am, but help me here. Update. I got caught, guys. Dane found out the truth on his own. I thought time would take my troubles away, but I guess that time only made it worse. They say time heals wounds, but it just made my own wound bigger. The funny thing is that the wound is not even mine in the first place. I'm the one who went ahead and ruined my marriage with my act of irresponsibility and stupidity. I had to finally leave Chicago because I could not stay there forever, at the end of the day, even though I wanted to. It took a lot of personal affirmation for me to finally go back to my house. I spent a lot of money renting a hotel in Chicago, and I think it was one of the things that gave me a reality check and said, I needed to go back. When I got back, I was very happy that my husband was not at home. I checked the many messages he sent me, but I did not reply. I couldn't even bring myself to open the messages for days, but I was finally able to check the messages when I got back to the house. He said in one of his messages that he was going on another work trip. He already left for the work trip a day before I got back. I felt relieved to know that I would not have to face him immediately, and that I would have some time to gather my thoughts and think of what to do. I was practically left in a state of denial because I didn't want to come into the present and accept what I have done. I kept trying to draw it out and pretend it was all a dream, but I realized that I was not helping myself and that I was only making matters worse. I read most of the comments you all dropped, but I think I stopped halfway when I realized that the comments were doing me more good and bad. A lot of people said a lot of hurtful things to me, and I can swear that it got to me. What is worse is the fact that I know that I deserved all of the insults and judgment I got. This is the first time I have ever shared my story on Reddit and made myself vulnerable to public scrutiny and judgment. And I do honestly hope that this will be the last time I will share a story on Reddit too. You guys remember that I told you my husband kept calling me continuously, but I ignored him. He left a lot of voice notes, and I was finally able to listen to them when I gathered my thoughts. In most of the voice notes, he sounded very angry, and he kept on saying that I was being very mysterious for not answering his calls and ignoring his text. The last voice note sent was the one that showed me just how angry he was. He sounded very furious, and he even told me that he would travel to Chicago if I did not call him back. I just assumed that it was a threat and that he would not follow through with it. By the time I even listened to that voice note, I was already out of Chicago. Thankfully, he also said he went for work, so he was not able to follow through with his threat. I finally decided to tell my husband the truth after most of the comments I read on Reddit. The comments made me understand that keeping the truth from my husband would only make me more of a selfish, lying woman, and that I made the decision and I should be ready to dance to the tunes of the music I played. I'm not going to come here and lie like I decided to tell the truth, just because many people said that I should tell the truth. It took a lot of convincing myself and seeing the truth from other people's perspective for me to actually decide to tell him the truth. I finally realized that I had been selfish to think that it was okay to cheat on my husband and then decide to keep the truth from him. Just like most people called me in the comments, I think I am actually an entitled woman, and it is very wrong. It's one thing to cheat, and it's another thing to try to keep the truth. When all this is over and the truth is finally revealed, I don't want him to finally end up hating me. One of the reasons I also finally decided to tell him the truth is because the athlete kept on messaging me. Apparently, he had gotten my phone number from the groom, who was his distant cousin. When I asked him how he was able to get the phone number, he said he lied to the groom and said he wanted to hire me for an event. I blocked him immediately after I found out how he got my number, but he kept messaging me with different numbers. I had to switch off my phone completely and start using another phone with a separate SIM because I was tired of receiving his calls. Every moment he tested me or tried to reach out to me just made me relieve the horrible thing I had done. He was like a bad glue that was stuck to me. At some point after I switched my phone back on, I noticed that he stopped texting and calling me. After I noticed that I finally deleted all the call logs and text messages he sent to me, that was how I was finally able to start using my SIM again. My husband only spent 1 week on his work trip before he finally got back. When he came back immediately, he asked me to sit down and have an important conversation with him. I'd been very shocked and scared, and I honestly believed that he had found out the truth. But ultimately, I discovered I was wrong because the conversation did not go the way I expected it to go. He was very angry, and he kept asking me why I suddenly decided to act the way I acted in Chicago. It was the perfect opportunity for me to tell him the truth and what happened, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it at that moment. I apologized to him and said that I was sick in Chicago. He didn't believe me at all and suggested that I had been up to something, and that was why I intentionally ignored him. He was so angry that he did not speak to me for the whole day since he got back. That day, I ran to the toilet and cried my eyes out. I kept asking myself that if he was angry at me for just ghosting him for a week, then how would he feel when he found out what I had done? It made me realize that I might have underestimated the gravity of what I had done. I got to understand that there was no way he was going to forgive me, and I slowly began to accept that. Even though I had been preparing to tell him the truth, I was still not fully prepared for when he found out. I never even expected him to find out on his own, and I can tell you all that I was not prepared at all. The level of shock and anxiety that hit me the moment he confronted me was nerve, actually. I have not been prepared, and it was that scenario that made me regret not telling him sooner. It was a Saturday morning, and both of us were at home for the first time in a very long time. My husband had still been very angry with me, and we were not in talking terms for a very long time. I made lunch for us, and I served him in the living room because he was watching TV. I did not expect him to suddenly push the food down till the plate shattered on the floor. The hot food almost burnt my skin, and I almost stepped on the shattered plate because of how shocked I had been. I got upset with him and asked him why he was acting like a child. Imagine me foolishly trying to think that I could scold him, not knowing that I was about to receive the shock of my life. To my surprise, he brought out his phone, increased his brightness, and then shoved the phone into my hands. When I squinted my eyes to see what he was trying to show me, my breath almost left me instantly. There were snaps of the text messages Brandon had sent to me. From the date, I could see that there were recent messages. I could not even believe that Dane was able to snap the texts that I didn't even know existed when I didn't even see them myself. I didn't even realize that I had underestimated just how smart my husband was. He was a journalist, and I had forgotten about that while I was caught up in my own personal problems. The messages were so recent that I was very sure that there were not the same messages I had deleted. I realized that he had searched my phone without me even knowing it, and that was where he took the pictures, the text from. One of the messages consisted of these words: "I can't forget that night even though I've tried. Please stop ignoring me so I can see you again." Those were the disgusting messages he sent to me, and I can't even write them all. I'm so embarrassed that my own husband read all those messages. I forgot all about Brandon because he has stopped sending me messages for some time. I didn't bother checking again, and I was so caught up with trying to figure out how to tell my husband the truth that I did not even think of trying to hide the texts. I didn't even know that any such text existed at all. I was so surprised that I could not move, and I just stared at the phone like it was the only thing that could save me from the situation I had found myself, or rather than the situation I had brought upon myself. Dane shook his head while he was looking at me and spat on the floor. He told me that I took his trust and shoved it out of the window. He said it was because of women like me that men could not trust their wives. He also told me that he regretted ever giving me the freedom to work as I liked. He said so many things that I had to cover my ear and stop myself from hearing them all. The more I listened to him, the more I realized that I had messed up so badly, and the man that once adored me was now disgusted by everything that related to me. His words cut so deep that I was immensely embarrassed. He told me that he was even more disappointed that I chose to keep it from him for so many days and even up to 3 weeks. I tried to explain, even though I was stuttering and nothing sensible came out of my mouth. He didn't give me a chance to speak, and he just grabbed his car keys and left the house. I spent hours on the floor thinking about what happened and pinching myself so I could wake up and realize it has all been a dream. I had ruined my life for a few minutes with a stranger, and I had suffered it, and I am still suffering it in more ways than I could have ever imagined. I could not believe that just like that, my marriage was over, and it was all because of my decisions. Every day since that day has been the most miserable day of my life. I cannot even imagine what is going through his head. I know he despises me now, and the thought of that is making me go crazy. The thought that your husband who once loved you and showered you with so much affection now gets disgusted and ignores all your calls is very dreadful. I, for one, am still very shocked still. And even as I write this, I'm trying my best to get out of bed and leave the house because I have been stuck in the house for days. The only text message I got from Dane was that he was planning to get a divorce. He just warned me to sign the divorce papers immediately when it came and not try to make a scene, or else he would make sure I get humiliated. I don't underestimate his ability to keep to his words, and that is why I am not going to try to act out or hinder the divorce process. I also have a conscience, and I'll be evil if I try to make this divorce hard for him. Update 2. I'm now a divorcee. Wow, life has to be the most unpredictable thing human beings would ever face. The fact that a woman like me, who was married just 4 months ago and is now divorced in a very short time span, is crazy. Life has a way of humbling you in so many ways that you don't even know where to start from. I got karma, and it was very hard. Dane didn't even have to lift a finger before I regretted all my decisions all over again. In case you're wondering what has been happening for the past 4 months, I'll gladly tell you all because I've been itching to make this post. Just like I said I would, I signed the divorce papers without causing any drama because I knew that there was no need for me to do that. I knew that there was no use dragging it out and trying to play smart when I would end up being the fool at the end of the day. We were living in a rented apartment and did not have our own house, so there was no fight over property and all that stuff. I am also very thankful that we held out and did not have kids yet, or else it would have been very brutal if I had to be separated from my kids. I moved out of the apartment because I could not afford to pay for the apartment on my own, even though Dane decided he wanted to leave. I moved back to my aunt's house because I was living there before I got married. She's the one who has been a mother figure to me, and I can't tell you all she was not mad at me. The neighbors and every single person we knew were spreading rumors and giving their own calculated version of what happened. I never cared to modify anything that has been said about me because I just don't see the point. Even though some people are exaggerating and adding a little bit too much salt, I know they are not lying, and I brought it upon myself. If I have stayed faithful to my husband and not looked elsewhere, I would not have a reason to be embarrassed and become a laughingstock. Some people even call me damaged goods when they think I am not looking. But none of them got to me like the realization of what I'd done. I regret it every single day, and I don't know if the stigma would ever go away. I don't think any man can even come to the neighborhood without knowing the full stories because everyone seems to be talking about it. My aunt keeps reminding me that the rumors might never let me get married. It's been 4 months now, and I have said that I made a mistake and I'm over it. I've pitied myself long enough, and I've realized that regretting things and spending days remembering everything will not make or change anything. Dane has moved on with his life, and I deserve to move on with my life too. I have a career to get back to, and I need to start accepting the gigs that have been coming my way. I've learned my lesson, and it has taught me a lot, but that doesn't mean I should keep dwelling on the past. I've told my aunt that I only plan on staying with her for 2 more months before I move to New York. I have enough money saved up to open a dance studio and an office so that I can easily receive my clients. I've blocked all the background noises, and even when my aunt and other family members try to tell me what my ex-husband is up to and what is going on in his life, I always tell them I am not interested because I do not plan on reliving all those memories again. Well, that's all, guys. I'm just trying to get a place in New York before I move there. Brandon stopped contacting me 2 months before the divorce was finalized, and I have had my peace since then. I sincerely hope that no one makes the kind of bad decisions I've made, and women should just try their best to be more present and think about the consequences of their actions before they indulge any male gender. Also, remember to stay safe at bachelor parties, lol. Shalom, peace.
I vowed that nothing will ever take me back to my estranged husband. I never wanted to have anything to do with him. I don't even want to breathe the same air with him. I didn't even want to set my eyes on him. I hated everything about him. My estranged husband is the perfect definition of a wolf in sheep's clothing. I left my husband while he was sick and took our daughter. Yes, I did it, and I don't have any regrets. But before you judge me, please listen to my story. Hi guys, my name is Samantha and I'm a 31-year-old baker. Well, I just started a bakery recently. I couldn't really bake before, but that story is not necessary. I'm married to my estranged husband Dennis. We got married 11 years ago, but we have been separated for 5 years now. We have a 10-year-old daughter. Her name is Elizabeth. She is the best thing that has ever happened to me. Elizabeth is my whole world. She is the reason I still have the will to live. I want to give her the best. I don't want her to suffer the way I suffered as a child. That's why I will go to any length to give everything. I can give her my whole life without thinking about it. My daughter and I suffered so much in the hands of Dennis. My marriage to Dennis was a total disaster. Dennis and I got married when I was 20 years old. My father sold me off to Dennis because he couldn't pay the debt he owed him. Dennis is a businessman and so is my father. They did a business deal together and it went bad, so my dad married me off to Dennis, or rather he sold me off to him. In exchange his debt was cleared. After the marriage or the business transaction, Dennis made my life a living hell. Dennis and my dad made me sign and document that I was never going to get divorced no matter what. Don't blame me, I was naive and I didn't even know the gravity of what I was doing. When Dennis made the offer to my dad, initially, he refused, but my stepmom convinced him to accept the offer so they will be debt-free. I was so stupid that I didn't know that Dennis had used our ignorance to his advantage. Things like that only happened in movies. How could it be possible that someone would trap another person into a divorce and there'll be no way to get out of it? I know you all are shaking your head and laughing at the possibility of that. Trust me when I say that when I think about it now, I laugh too. I laugh at how funny it sounds. I believed that I was stuck in a bad marriage forever and there was nothing I could do about it. Unknown to me that I was actually wasting time and deceiving myself. Dennis was very smart and he used that to his advantage in the marriage. He saw a family that didn't make sense and then he decided to use that to his own silly game's advantage. I lost my mom when I was 2 years old, so my dad remarried. After their wedding, my stepmom made sure I experienced hell on earth. She hated me for reasons best known to her. My dad was not always around, that's why he remarried. I was very close to my dad, but he remarried. All of that changed. He became distant because my stepmom always quarreled with my dad anytime she saw us together. She never wanted to see me talk to my dad. If she ever caught me talking to my dad, I would be in trouble. She would punish me by not giving me food. This made me scared. I was afraid of going to my dad and he was afraid of coming to me because he didn't want to upset his new wife. She controlled everything, even down to my dad's finances. She was the one that squandered all my dad's business money. She wears the most expensive and trending outfit. That was why my dad was in debt. She mismanaged my dad's fiancé and I became the sacrificial lamb. Things became worse when she gave birth to my stepsister Alora. I was completely neglected by my dad. Alora became my dad's favorite. Growing up, Alora got the best of everything, while I got the one she abandoned. My stepmom never bought anything for me. I always got what Alora rejected. I grew up without the love of a father and mother. So don't be surprised when my dad agreed to me off to his business partner. After the wedding, reality set in. My marriage to Dennis was just like being in bondage. He treated me like a maid. I wasn't allowed into his room. He would ask me to go upstairs anytime his friends visited. He wasn't proud of me. He never allowed me to go out with him. He was ashamed of me, I guess. He had maids before we got married, but immediately after our marriage, he sacked them. I became the official maid. I was sweeping and mopping a big house with a lot of rooms. He also made sure I washed his cars every morning. After that, I prepared his food. He made sure I was occupied with work 24/7. I was so engaged with house chores that I didn't even have time to feel sorry for myself. I cried to bed every day. I thought marriage was like a bed of roses like I read in novels. Nothing prepared me for what I went through in the hands of Dennis. He never took care of me. He didn't buy new clothes or shoes. He told me I didn't need any of that because I was always at home. He never spent a dime on me. I was always sad. The more I tried to get his love and affection, the more he hated me. I was married but very lonely. Every weekend was always tough for me. Dennis would invite his friends over, they would party all weekend, they would drink, smoke and litter the floor. I would be cleaning after them because Dennis would beat me if he found stains on his tiles or floor. Dennis has about 3 washing machines, but he made me wash with my bare hands. He frustrated me every chance I got. Dennis was a rich man, he had people doing all this for him before I came, but he sacked them immediately I came. That is why I don't regret leaving him while he was sick and taking our daughter with me. I was tired of the marriage even before it began. Dennis made sure I didn't have any money, he would send the gatekeeper out for grocery shopping, he never allowed me to do it, maybe he was because he was scared of me taking his money and running away. One day I got tired of everything and I decided to run back to my dad's house. Unfortunately for me, my dad was not around. My stepmom chased me back and asked me never to return again, that I was already a married woman. She saw the bruises on my body, but she turned a blind eye to everything. I thought those types of things only happened in movies, but surprisingly, it happened to me too, and I was very surprised. After I was sent away by my stepmom, I didn't have anywhere else to go, so I decided to go back to Dennis' place. He wasn't around when I left, and thankfully he hasn't returned back yet. Then the worst thing happened, what I dreaded the most happened. Can you guys guess what it was? I found out that I was pregnant. I'd taken a pregnancy test after missing my monthly flow, but I never thought I'd really be pregnant. I was pregnant, yes, guys, I was pregnant. I was so devastated because I couldn't believe I was pregnant with his child. I wasn't happy, it felt like my whole world was crumbling, I didn't know what to do. Worst of all, I didn't have a mother, no father, and no friends. Even if I had friends, he wouldn't allow them to visit. My dad tried visiting several times, but he never allowed him in. Anyone I've told this story today wouldn't believe it, it just sounds easy to leave such a situation. But for a woman like me with no money who was broke, leaving just like that was very hard. Children are gifts from God, so I didn't understand why Dennis was not happy when I told him I was pregnant. He was indifferent about it. I thought he would be happy when I told him I was pregnant, but the reverse was the case. I thought the news of my pregnancy was going to bring us together and he would start training me right. But I was wrong. The only thing he said is I should better hope I'm carrying a baby boy. All through my pregnancy, it was hell. The first trimester was the hardest. The morning sickness was extreme, I was still cleaning the entire house all by myself in that condition. Sometimes Dennis will return back from his business trips with his girlfriends, and he would ask me to cook and serve them, he always told them I was his maid. Some of them asked him to sack me because I was pregnant, that I was good for nothing. Remembering everything is making me tear up right now. I was scared of what would happen when Dennis finds out I'm carrying a girl. I already did an ultrasound, but I was scared, I couldn't tell him. I begged the doctor to keep the gender of the baby from Dennis, and the doctor reluctantly agreed. Denise continued to maltreat me all through the pregnancy, there was never a day he looked at me with love. Soon I found out why he hated me with passion. Apparently, my father cheated him on their business deal, that was why he hated me. He was transferring the hatred he had for my father to me, maybe it was because I'm the exact replica of my father, I'm not making excuses for him, I'm just trying to understand why he hated me so much. I finally gave birth to my beautiful daughter, on a Sunday. I felt joy I've never felt before, I couldn't explain what it was, but I was finally at peace. I felt some form of relief all of a sudden, for the first ever since I lost my mom I never felt alone again. But I can't say the same for Dennis, he was so disappointed you could see it all over his face, he left me and the baby at the hospital. I spent 3 days at the hospital without anyone coming to see me. When the doctor got tired, he had to discharge me because I was occupying space and the bills were piling up. Honestly, I didn't want to leave the hospital, I was getting food at the hospital, the nurses were helping me with my baby when I was still in the hospital. Now it was just me and my little angel, I found it hard to move around because I had a cesarean section. The doctor and nurses warned me to get enough bed rest and that I shouldn't lift any heavy objects. I couldn't do that because I had no helping hands, which made my recovery journey hard. It took me 6 months to heal completely, that 6 months was hard for me, I had no one to assist me but I survived it all, my baby and I survived. Dennis one day never addressed Elizabeth as his daughter, he also transferred the hatred he had for me to Elizabeth. But I knew I had to be strong for my daughter's sake. I couldn't cry any longer because Elizabeth would cry whenever he saw me crying. I was tired of everything. I couldn't even buy diapers for my baby. Things were that tough. Dennis refused to put our daughter in school. When Elizabeth was 3 years old, I begged Dennis to at least put her in one of the cheapest schools around, but he said he didn't have any money to spare. This was someone that had a charity organization for less privileged children, but here he was saying he didn't have any money to spare for his daughter's education. At that moment, it felt as if I had failed my daughter. I couldn't believe my daughter might end up like me. If I don't do something, I wished I had little money to use and enroll Elizabeth in school, but I had none. Dennis stopped me from working. One time I got a job at a beauty store and Dennis showed up and made a scene at the store. After that day, he warned me never to go work ever again. Dennis always maltreated Elizabeth. He got angry anytime he saw her. Dennis made the house hell for us. We couldn't even breathe well anytime he was around. Fear always gripped us every time we heard the sound of his car. We always tiptoe around the house cause you never know what you will do and Dennis will get mad. I always dreamt about leaving, but I had nowhere to go. My dad would not accept me because he is scared of what Dennis would do. If my mother was alive, I'm sure she would have damned all consequences and saved me from this abuser. I knew I wouldn't even be in that kind of situation in the first place if my mother was still alive. I'm a mother and I know I can go above and beyond for my child. I might be called a wicked person for saying this, but when Dennis fell sick and was brought home by one of his side chick, I felt relieved. I rushed him to the hospital. After a series of tests, the doctor told me Dennis was down with cancer. Fortunately for him, the cancer was in an early stage and that he needed a bone marrow transplant. I was confused. I didn't understand what he was saying, so he decided to break it down for me. He told me my daughter needed to get tested. If her bone marrow matches with Dennis, then she would have to undergo a surgery to save her father's life. Over my dead body, I shouted, I would never put my child through that pain, not for a worthless man. Dennis doesn't deserve that kind of charity from Elizabeth. He was never a good father to her. How could I let my poor daughter go through a life-changing surgery just to save a man that never considered her as a daughter? Dennis was never a good father to Elizabeth. He doesn't know anything about Elizabeth. Let me shock you guys, Dennis doesn't even know his daughter's name. He always addressed her as a. I couldn't believe what happened to me was happening to my child. We both never experienced the love of a father. I called Dennis' parents and informed them about Dennis' condition. His parents arrived and they were devastated. His parents loved me, but they were scared of Dennis. They couldn't do much for me. Everyone was scared of him, even his own parents. He wasn't a good son, neither was he a good father and husband. He was rude to everyone, even his own parents. He didn't have any iota of respect for them. His mom wanted to visit me when I gave birth, but he refused. He never allowed her to come and assist me. There was a time I reported to his parents that he was maltreating me. His parents called him to advise him. He got angry and ended the call. He stopped sending money to them for a whole year. Truth be told, I was very happy to see Dennis in that condition. If for anything, I was happy he could no longer abuse me anymore. He was helpless. I was happy seeing him fighting for his life. I was having fun with the whole situation. I couldn't believe what was happening. Everything felt like a dream. The same man that used to act like a semi-god is the one lying down helplessly. I didn't feel sorry for him one bit. While Dennis was sick, none of his friends or side chicks showed up at the hospital. I was the only one around taking care of him. It's true what they said, what goes around comes back around. That period was one of the best times of my life. Suddenly it felt as if I had been set free from a cage. I left Dennis at the hospital. I only visited him whenever I wanted. I was living my best life with Dennis' money until one day, I overheard Dennis making arrangements with the doctor so they would take my daughter's bone marrow without my consent. Thank goodness I came to the hospital on that fateful day. I quickly ran out of the hospital as fast as I could and ran home immediately. I took a lot of valuable things I could lay my hands on. I took gold, I took diamonds and lots of money and ran away. Yes, I abandoned my husband on his sick bed. I did it without thinking twice. I relocated with my daughter to Australia. I knew there was no way in the world Dennis would find us, that is, if he survived. Everything was going smoothly for us again, life was beginning to make sense. The first thing I did when we got to Australia was finding a good therapist for my daughter. I didn't want to raise a damaged child. Elizabeth and I had been through a lot. The money I stole from Dennis' safe was more than enough. I made sure my daughter lacked nothing. I gave her the very best. She attended the best school. I was finally able to enroll her in the school. Elizabeth was very intelligent. Everyone loved her. She was too intelligent for her age. Sometimes, I wondered if she was really my daughter. She always made straight A's in class. She was just too smart. I regretted ever marrying Dennis, but I never regretted having Elizabeth. She was the puzzle that was missing in my life. I never felt lonely after I had Elizabeth anymore. If for anything, I became stronger and started fighting to live. Elizabeth was my everything. She was my daughter, best friend, father, mother, husband. She was the best thing that ever happened to me. I think God decided to compensate for my pain. That's why He gave me the best daughter in the whole world. While in Australia, I also started schooling. I never finished college. While my mates were in school learning, I was at home doing chores. I was in college before my dad made me get married to Dennis. Dennis promised my dad I would continue my schooling, but he never fulfilled that promise. He stopped me from schooling immediately after marriage. I went to school and graduated. I studied law in one of the prestigious schools and graduated with good results. I started practicing law professionally and I became one of the best lawyers in town. I never lost any cases. I was living my best life. Life was beginning to make sense again. Elizabeth and I spent 5 years in Australia. Elizabeth was 5 years when we left. Elizabeth never for once asked me about her father's whereabouts. She didn't ask me any questions. For someone that was so inquisitive, she never for once asked me any questions about why we ran away, and I was grateful for that. I never heard anything from Dennis or my father again. I didn't even know whether Dennis survived. Well, I don't care if he survived or not. I continued developing myself and my daughter. I never stopped learning. I kept acquiring more knowledge. I built myself with every resource I could lay my hands on. I was preparing myself for the war ahead. I knew we would one day go back to the States. I will have to go back and divorce Dennis so I could finally be free. Dennis and I were still married. According to the documents he made me sign, I couldn't divorce him or else I'd have to pay a hefty sum. I'm not sure those documents were even illegal, but lack of confidence never made me do the right thing. So guys, I was still married to him. So I had all the right to come claim his entire assets. Before running away, I put everything in place. I took all the important documents I could lay my hands on before running away. Leaving Dennis on the sickbed and running away with our daughter was one of the best decisions I have ever made. It gave me the opportunity to build myself. It gave me enough time to grow, enough time to fix my broken self-esteem. I was no longer the little puppet he played with it. I had become strong and independent. I was doing well for myself. While in Australia, I was just waiting for the perfect opportunity to return back to the States. I wanted to make a grand entrance. One day, while we were listening to the news, I was busy with my phone scrolling through social media when I got a text from one of my friends. She told me she got to know that Dennis survived cancer after his brother gave him his bone marrow. Anyways, it didn't matter whether he survived or not. What mattered to me was how to take everything for him. I was just waiting for the perfect opportunity. I called Elizabeth and told her to prepare that we would have to return back. She was not happy about that. She begged for us to stay there, but I told her we needed to go back to her. She needed to take over her father's property. She told me she doesn't need any of that, but I knew she didn't understand what I was saying. She was still a baby. She was just 10 years old then. I knew one day, when she is a lot older, she will thank me for that decision. I'm just doing everything possible to position her in the right place. One thing I vowed to myself was that my daughter would not go through everything I went through. I promised myself I would make her strong and independent, and that no man will ever be able to treat her the way Dennis treated me. One of the reasons Elizabeth didn't want us to leave was because she was scared. She knew how life was for us back then and how it is now. She also didn't want to lose her friends, but I assured her we would return after we secured her future. Finally, we got back to the States. Coming back to the States brought back old memories. All of a sudden, everything came flashing back at me. This very place felt uncomfortable for me. I started having a double mind. I wanted to go back to Australia. Old fears were coming back, but looking at my daughter, I had to be strong. I had to fight for my daughter's future. I didn't want to be a total failure like my dad. I refused to be a weakling. I decided to face my fears. Elizabeth and I lodged in a hotel, and I was just waiting for the right opportunity to announce my presence to Dennis. Soon the right opportunity came. The UN was hosting a ball in honor of Dennis for his humanitarian service to the less privileged. That was the perfect opportunity one had, and I took it. What do you guys think happened next? Hi guys, it's me again. So the ball was strictly by invitation, and I didn't have an invite. But I was allowed in after I told them Dennis I was a beneficiary of Dennis' humanitarian service. The ball was big, all his acquaintances were present. I took a seat and sat down quietly waiting for my time. Seeing Dennis smiling from ear to ear made me furious. Here he was, my abuser, pretending and acting like a saint. When Dennis spotted me, he got scared and pulled me to the side so he could ask what I was doing there. He was very shocked to see me. I couldn't believe that I'd fallen for his tricks before and that I let myself get confused by the games he tried to play. I made myself believe so many lies. How could I think there was a document that could make me never ask for divorce? I just didn't have the courage to look for a proper lawyer to help me out in court. Now that I'm a lawyer, I know better. That's the only reason why he could trample all over me and act like he was high and mighty. I disgraced Dennis on a night he was supposed to be honored, and I don't regret it one bit. He didn't expect to see me at all, and he made sure to make that clear. He accused me of leaving him when he was in his toughest moments, only for me to come back just so I could take revenge. I didn't even need to talk before he understood why I was present. He was threatened by my presence, and it was obvious. Dennis and I spent a lot of time arguing and having a lot of back and forths. He wasn't ready to back down, and so was I. I had to tell him how much I hated him before I spat on the floor and left him standing there. I still get goosebumps anytime I think about what happened because it was hard for me to go through all that alone. Standing up to someone who hurt you before is really hard, and it takes a lot of courage to do that. I knew that the first step I had to take was to get out of the marriage. I was still legally married to him, and I didn't want it to stay that way, so I made the conscious decision to get out of the narrative without incurring any legal problems. I knew that what my father and I had been scared of before was just stupid threats. We were just poor, and that's why we didn't have the common sense to know that Dennis had just been trying to use our head. He just wanted to play mind games with us, and we fell for it. I still can't believe that there was a time in my life when I thought that I couldn't get a divorce if I wanted to. It took a much-needed break and becoming a lawyer for me to understand just how easy it was to get a divorce if I really wanted one. Ignorance can be bliss sometimes, but it takes courage to be smart. As a lawyer, I did a lot of research and knew I could divorce Dennis without paying a dime. I can even sue him for making me sign a paper under duress. The reason Dennis is scared of divorce is because he doesn't want me to get half of his property. That was why he forced me to sign a paper. Well, I'm back now, this time a lot smarter and bolder, and I'm ready to divorce him and take half of his money. I served Dennis the divorce papers. He was shocked. He reminded me of the paper he made me sign years ago, and I told him I could sue him for making me sign a document under duress. I told him it was illegal. I gave him two options: either he signed the divorce papers, or I sued him to court for making me sign a document under duress, and he might end up spending 5 years in prison. Dennis got scared. For the first time I saw fear in his eyes. I guess the thought of him losing half of his property to me humbled him. Immediately, he fell on his knees and asked me to forgive him for everything he has ever done. He asked me to give our marriage a second chance. He said he was ready to be a good husband and, most importantly, a good father. I was too smart to fall for that crocodile tears. The 20-year-old me would have fallen for his tricks, but I'm a lot smarter now. I know what he is doing. I'm very familiar with that act. It's been 5 years ever since I left Dennis, and he hasn't changed a bit. He was still as cunning and manipulative as ever. When he saw my mind was made up, he took his car keys and walked out. You guys would not believe what happened next. Dennis returned back and continued pleading, this time around with my dad. Dennis brought my dad to plead with him. I couldn't even believe my eyes, how my dad fell for his manipulation. I haven't seen my dad ever since I left for Australia 5 years ago. I couldn't understand why he decided to appear before me just like that, asking me to forgive a man that almost ruined my life. It was at that point I realized anyone can be a father, but it takes a real man to be a dad. People like Dennis and my dad have one thing in common: they were never a good father to their children. Anyways, I turned him down too. Dennis was trying to change my mind by all means possible. He went as far as getting me a new car, but I refused to be swayed by his antics. He started coming back home early. He even started taking Elizabeth out for ice cream. My innocent daughter was happy. She thought her father was beginning to love her. I knew he had not changed and was only pretending. He was only trying to change my mind. Dennis tried his best to change my mind, but when he saw my mind was made up, he decided to sign the divorce papers. He was scared of going to jail, I guess. I couldn't believe it was finally happening. The moment I have been waiting for is here. Dennis has finally signed the divorce papers, and I'm about to be free. It felt like a heavy burden had been lifted off my shoulders. For the first time in a while, I felt freedom. Hi guys, it's me again. I didn't know how tough divorce proceedings can be. The whole thing was exhausting. The entire divorce process was hectic. Dennis tried to buy the jury over, but he failed. I knew Dennis would not back down easily. Dennis employed the services of 3 senior lawyers. He told me I was not going to get a penny from him. He was so confident that he would win against me. Well, I was a bit scared too. Who wouldn't after seeing the lawyers he employed? I was able to calm myself down and just trust the system. His lawyers tried all they could to make sure I didn't get a penny, but I'm glad justice prevailed at last. Dennis and I finally got divorced, and I got half of his property. That is, I got half of everything he owned. You guys needed to have seen him that day. He cried hot tears. I'm not exaggerating, guys. He cried like a baby that lost his candy. I also got custody of our daughter. Dennis was also asked to start paying for child support. Dennis was fighting for the custody of our daughter because he didn't want to pay for child support. After the divorce, I decided to go start all over again in another city. I relocated permanently to Chicago with Elizabeth. I sold all the houses and assets I got from Dennis. I didn't want anything that would remind me of my bitter past. I invested for my daughter's future. Dennis was still paying the child support every month, but you never can't tell what might happen tomorrow. Dennis is unpredictable. I got a job in a law firm and I became a licensed lawyer in America. Life was beginning to make sense again. I decided to further my education while working too. I kept developing myself. I made sure I gave Elizabeth the best. She attended the best school and always came out top of her class. Sometimes, I wondered what I ever did right to deserve such a beautiful and intelligent daughter. Dennis never for once visited us in Chicago. He never even asked Elizabeth, but always sent money every month. I guessed he never forgave me for taking half of his money. He went around spreading false rumors about me. He told anyone that cared to listen how I abandoned him on his bed and ran away with our daughter, and how I came back again to divorce him and take half of his money. Truth be told, initially it affected me because people judged me without hearing my own side of the story. I was hurt, I wouldn't even lie. That was even one of the reasons I relocated from Los Angeles to Chicago. Dennis was hell-bent on destroying my name. As time went on, I no longer cared about what Dennis and his gossip mongers had to say about me. I ignored them, and soon enough, they got tired and frustrated. As for my dad, my stepmom kept pushing him into debt. I heard my stepsister Alora got married to an old rich man. I'm not surprised though, knowing how greedy my stepmom is. I knew she can sell off her own daughter too, just like she did with me. She is one of the most selfish beings I know. I don't even know how she sleeps at night. I mean, I'm a mother and I don't see myself doing that to my child. My dad finally got tired of her flamboyant lifestyle and sent her away. I wished he did that earlier. I wouldn't have married Dennis in the first place. But I believe everything happens for a reason. If I had not married Dennis, I wouldn't have had my daughter Elizabeth. Elizabeth is my will to live. She is my best friend and everything. I work so hard because of her. I want her to know what it means to be a strong, independent, and hardworking woman. Elizabeth finally graduated from high school. It was a proud moment for me. She dedicated her speech to me. She described me as her superhero. Dennis got married again, this time not to a naive 20-year-old girl, but to a businesswoman like him. She divorced him 3 months later. Is not everyone that could put up with what I endured in the hands of Dennis. That is my story, guys. Now I understand the saying that you never know how strong you are until being strong is the only way. Nothing prepared me for everything life threw at me, but I'm grateful for everything. The hardship I went through made me stronger, and I'm grateful I survived it all. Thanks and